So much for joining us.
It's great being here, Mark.
Obviously, the news of the weekend, Paul Manafort now resigning. What does this tell us about where the campaign structure is? Is this a direct result of the team bringing in two new people to really run things?
Yeah, there's no question. And by the way, Paul's a great guy. And I think my father didn't want to be, distracted by, whatever things that, Paul was dealing with. And, Paul was amazing. And, he helped us get through the primary process. He helped us get through the convention. He did a great job with the delegates. Now you look at, Kellyanne and some of the other people that we're bringing in, and they're absolutely fantastic. And, I think they're going to be the ones that bring us, all the way through November 8th and ultimately get us the victory. But again, my father just didn't want to have the distraction looming over the campaign, and quite frankly, looming over all the issues that Hillary is facing right now.
Yeah, and I think right off the bat, as soon as you brought in two new players, we saw a little shift. Yeah. We saw what your father said a couple of days ago. We saw what he said in terms of saying, look, I own this. I'm taking responsibility for if I may have insulted somebody. Yeah. Was that a result of the two new players that you brought in to run the campaign?
Yeah, maybe a little bit. I think,
or was that from the inside, his children? Did you advise him to do this?
I think it's him, right? At the end of the day, my father's my father, right? Let Trump be Trump, and I think that's what, that's when he does best. That's who he is, and that's what's created this, incredible movement that he started. At the same time, don't get me wrong, a lot of people are opining on this, and I think he's felt it, as well. And I think coming out with a great sense of humility, again, the father that I've known my entire life, I think it was amazing. And as I mentioned, I was at that speech, and the speech was amazing, and it was electric, and the room was electric, and I was proud of him for doing that.
Well, clearly, coming out of the convention, which was very successful for you, the convention, something happened, and obviously Paul Manafort wasn't doing it. He wasn't doing the job because the campaign lost ground after the convention. So does this change now give more clarity? You've got two new players. Does it give that freshness that you need with these just 80 days left?
Yeah, possibly. And I wouldn't even say we came out of the convention. We had an amazing convention. We had a massive bump. In fact, one of the biggest bumps coming out of the convention that you could have imagined, right? And then, obviously they had their convention right after, and traditionally they'll get a bump too, right? And so it's really interesting. I think right now you're really seeing in the latest polls, you're really seeing that totally level out, and it's really back to parity. And Hillary spent $200 million in advertising against us. We've spent nothing against her yet our numbers are at parity, and I think that's probably pretty frustrating for them. But believe me, they don't like the fact that we have a great war chest, saved up, and they've spent all this money, and yet we're dead even in the polls. They're not thrilled about that.
We're looking at the polls tighten in a big way. Obviously, what your father is doing is working. Now, your father made a decision to go to Louisiana in the face of this terrible flooding that we're seeing there, to speak to the people, to just express his condolences and hurt with them. Why? Why is he doing this now?
Yeah, well, you have coffins floating down the street. You have houses that are underwater. You have cars that are underwater. You have people who have lost their lives. And the President of the United States is in Martha's Vineyard playing golf. He can't be bothered to hop on Air Force One, one of the nicest planes in the world, to fly down there for half a day to check in on the situation. He's sitting there playing, his 200th round of golf this year. At the same time, Hillary is sitting there, resting. These are our leaders. It is shocking. These are the people that we have elected as a country to lead. And I think my father was just frustrated by it, and so he went down there to show his support with Mike Pence. He's on the ground, and I'm proud of him for doing that. But I'm disgusted by the fact that the Commander-in-Chief of the United States couldn't be bothered to hop on Air Force One, to fly down there for a couple hours to find out what was going on. It's truly, truly sad.
We now know that the White House has admitted that this $400 million that went to Iran was, in fact, contingent upon them releasing the American hostages. What does your father plan in terms of the Iran deal? How easy would it be to reverse? And your thoughts on this hostage payment that we now know was, in fact, ransom?
Maria, I actually think the Iran deal was one of the things that it was almost the auspices of getting my father to run for president. I remember, when that was first talked about years ago, and he was shaking his head. We can't be serious. We can't honestly consider giving $150 billion to a country that hates our guts, that hates our way of life, that detests everything about Western civilization. We can't be serious about doing that, and they ended up doing it. And then you see, obviously, the 4 prisoners were contingent on the $400 million. And you're sitting there as a guy who travels overseas. They put a target on every American's head that leaves, the boundaries of this country, including, quite frankly, every military personnel that we have overseas, because clearly our government is now paying, for hostages. You simply can't do it. I mean, $150 billion was atrocious. $400 million in cash being dropped off in the middle of the night is just as bad. I mean, you almost can't make this up. I mean, you really almost can't make this up.
Yeah, I mean, we don't even know the terms because we learned about it after it was already done. So again, the president went around Congress. What can we expect?
And by the way, he lied about it.
Yeah,
he lied about it. He said that it wasn't ransom money. The 400 had nothing to do with the hostages. No different than he lied about Obamacare, where he said you'd get to keep your doctor, you'd get to keep your plan. No different than Hillary Clinton lies about the 33,000 emails. No different than Hillary Clinton lies about Benghazi, right? I mean, no different than Hillary Clinton lies about every scandal that they've had in the White House. I mean, this is what you're getting from our politicians in this country. We're America. We're better than that. We need to have people who are actually honest with the citizens of this nation and represent them well, and that's simply not happening.
Which is why he reached out to the Hispanic community this weekend, reached out to the African-American community earlier last week. What should we expect in terms of these groups? Is he going to be able to really move the needle in terms of Hispanics, African-Americans, women, another group that he really needs to get those numbers up in terms of the vote?
Yeah, well, I hope so. And it's interesting as a non-politician stepping in and seeing how ingrained politics are in certain people that they can never take off the blinders and look outside their party, the party that they've always voted for before. But again, if you look at what Democrats have done, for inner cities, for inner city youth, again, 60% unemployment. I mean, they've never done anything. They always promise great things, and then nothing ever happens. If you look at Chicago, right, you have 2,500 shootings this year alone in Obama's home city. If you look at Detroit, if you look at Baltimore, if you look at so many of these places, they've been run by Democrats for the last 50, 60, 70 years. And look what happens. They never get better. They just never get better. And I think part of my father's message last night is, why not try something new? Why not give me a chance? Let me bring back jobs to this country. Let me fix an educational system that's a total disaster, that's full of fraud and waste and abuse and nonsense. Let me fix these problems. It's something I can do. I mean, what do you have to lose? And that's what he said last night. What do you have to lose? It's broken. I will fix it. Give me the chance to fix it.
Eric, it's nice to have you on the program today.
Thank
you so much. We'll be watching. Eric Trump.